Hi, and welcome to another episode of All Things Considered. Tonight, I would like to do a video based on a comment that was left by a viewer of one of my videos. In that comment, I was asked this question. If I was to run for mayor of Seattle in 2025, what would separate me from the other candidates? Well, in a way, that's kind of a loaded question because I don't really understand who the candidates are going to be, who I'd be going up against, and what their platforms and beliefs are. What do they want to do to change Seattle? How do they want to fix it? Everybody that comes into the race, whether it be for city council, for mayor, governor, senators, any of that, president, any of that. When somebody comes into a position of power, they have all these grandiose ideas. They got things they want to do. They want to try to fix the heavens and the earth and draw the moon in to where you can grab it right out of the sky. That's not always something that can be accomplished. But the citizens and potential, the citizens and potential voters, they like to hear that stuff. Well, I'm a meat and potatoes kind of guy. And to be honest with you, there's only a couple of things that I can think of that would set me apart from the other candidates that I actually know of. And one of them is homelessness. Yes, for give or take a year or two, for about 15 years, I was homeless. I was homeless in Los Angeles. I was homeless in Denver for a while. I was homeless in Kansas City, Missouri for a while. And the reason I became homeless is because my center was split in two and it was all over the map. At that time, somebody that was very dear to me was torn out of my life and it disrupted my center. And from that, I hitchhiked around and moved and went from place to place and I became homeless. And I lived most of my young adult life homeless. Then I started working with organizations that would be able to help the homeless get into drug rehab, help the homeless get out of the homelessness situation and get into an apartment. So for that, I understand because I've lived on both sides of the fence. It's hard to understand somebody's plight or the situation they're in if you've never walked a mile in their shoes. And I tell you, being homeless, I did a lot of walking. And I was in more than just a mile in somebody else's shoes. I understand what it's like to live in an apartment, have a stable life, and to have things, to be a part of society, and to do things as a citizen. And I understand what it's like to be homeless and feel like you're not part of society, like society doesn't want you there because of your living arrangements. It's like you didn't choose to be homeless, but you became homeless and you were stuck in the homelessness situation. So for that, I understand both sides. And I understand how to fix homelessness too. And it's a mindset after a while because and I'll explain this very simple. You have the point where you are homeless. Say you had an apartment or a job and you lost those and now you're homeless right here. Okay. Now you're homeless right here. You're homeless. Okay. Now you're homeless. So once you become homeless, you still have a spot in your life where you can think clearly. You can maybe find another job. Maybe you're in between apartments for just a couple of days. Technically, you're still homeless, but you have not become homeless yet. Once you become homeless, that's when the doo-doo hits the fan, because in between that time, you can find a job, you can find an apartment, you can get your life back on track, you can get back to your regular stuff. You haven't lost your rental history. You haven't lost your mindset yet. Once you become homeless, once you get to that point where you become homeless, you are now have more things to worry about, such as where are you going to store your gear? Where are you going to sleep at night that's safe? Where are you going to wash up and shower? How are you going to be able to get to these jobs that you want to try to get? And things of that nature. And, and on top of that, homeless shelters are not made for people that work. They're made for people that are going to be a bum or people that are going to work during the day and sleep at night. If you get a nighttime job as like a security guard or something or a factory worker where you have to work nights, you can kiss the shelters goodbye because you got nowhere to sleep now. And that's a headache and a half too. So given that, that would be one thing that would set me apart from the other candidates. Unless the candidates have been homeless and are willing to admit that. And I'm not talking about sleeping on your friend's couch for a week. That doesn't count. I'm talking about living out on the street, whether it be in a homeless shelter or sleeping in a tent or in a sleeping bag, or you're out on the street with just a blanket. You're on the street now. And you got to go and find a place to eat. You got to stow your gear and all that. Once that happens, you have become homeless. You have now lost your rental history, which means you have to find a place that'll let you move in so you can build up your rental history again. And for that, I understand, and I understand how to fix it. Because it's more than just being homeless. Why don't you just get off the street, you lazy bum? No, it's the mind also. Once the mind becomes homeless, you have a lot more to work with because it's a mental thing now. It's not just a physical thing. Once your body gets on the skid row or gets on the street, then gradually your mind starts to get on the street because you set up a routine. A lot of times people go from the time they get up out of the shelter and get something to eat for breakfast, then they walk around for a while or take a bus or whatever they do. Then when the libraries open up, they go into the library and they stay there all day until it's time for the shelters to open up again, unless they're sleeping in a tent. And then every other day or every other month, you have to take the tent, tear it down, and you have to move it if it's a legal tent city. You have to move it to another spot. That's no way to live. It's hard to be a productive member of society if you're constantly tossed around. Now, I'm going to be getting on the internet, and as time goes by, I will be looking up potential candidates. I will be getting a feel for them. I will be calling if I have a phone number to contact and ask them questions about what they plan on doing to help the city. Find out if they're a transplant that's just moved here and they're making money off the city, or if they're a long-time resident with roots that's got some skin in the game. You need people that's got skin in the game because the better the city does, the better they do. And I'm also going to be doing exploratory missions to Seattle just recently. I found a website that will allow me to book airfares round trip for $166 at certain times of the year during the months of August and September and various things like that. They have cheap flights. May into June, they have cheap flights for about $166 round trip. I've already talked to somebody that's going to let me stay with them when I'm there because they're going to help me with my lodging so I can focus on the important stuff, which is get Seattle back to get back to a foundation for everybody involved. So if there's something that I've not mentioned in this video, if there's something I haven't mentioned, or if you're curious about something, please put it in a comment below. I will be as honest with you as I can. Also, if you have an idea for another video, please put it in the comments below. I would love to hear from you about it.